Welcome to another episode of 1520 AD, a year, a restaurant, a podcast. If you like to sing with people, you could find an awful lot of people to sing with at the restaurant 1520 AD. My guest today, Laura Gregory, learned a whole lot of singing with a whole lot of friends, and she's here to talk about them here with me today. So, hey Laura, how's it going?
Hey, Dan.
So, Laura, set the scene for me what 1520 the restaurant was for you at the time.
I was 19 and I had gotten a job as a singing serving wench at a weird little dinner theater called 1520 AD. And it was like this tiny little space, and we served bread and barley soup and big hunks of meat. And then we had like a King Henry VIII and his jester and his court magician. And this was the whole show.
Talk to me about your costume at the restaurant.
I had taken an old tank top and cut it down the front and then poked holes in it and tied it back together with a shoelace to make it look like it was a bodice.
So, how did you get this job? Were you an experienced waitress?
No, it was a singing gig. Like we had to show up and sing, and it was the weirdest thing because the singing wenches, we all kind of did like a big opening number. We did that from Oliver, the consider yourself at home. Consider yourself, because that makes perfect sense in the court of King Henry VIII. And then every night, a different one of us would get up and just do a random solo at some point in the night, like while people were eating their dinner. And I sang a song from the musical Chess as my solo. And my friend Nancy sang a song from Jesus Christ Superstar as her solo. And then there was another girl there who just would like choose just a random pop song, get up and sing, like Whitney Houston or something. It made very little sense in terms of the theming of the restaurant. It was
Go
my
ahead.
first gig ever serving or being a waitress.
What was your previous theatrical slash singing experience?
Oh, that's all I had ever done was theater and singing. I grew up doing musicals. I did my first musical performance at 6 years old, for the Long Beach Civic Light Opera, and I just kind of never stopped. I was a musical theater major in college, and I did every show that I could get, an audition for from the time that I was, I don't know, 7, 8 years old.
Did mom or dad work in the industry and get you on stage?
No, strangely enough, mom and dad were both in the medical industry. My mom was a nurse and my dad was a doctor. And they also had both been in Vietnam. My dad was a doctor in Vietnam. My mom was an army nurse in Vietnam. And when my mom was over there and just hated the whole war thing, she was like, "This is horrible. This is depressing. I hate all of this." And she said, "You know what this war could use is a musical." And so she like walked into the USO office and just went, "Hi, my name is Lieutenant CP and I want to put on a show." And they went, "Okay." And so she somehow pulled together the rights to do South Pacific, the musical South Pacific in Vietnam. And my dad, who was an army doctor at a different hospital in Saigon, heard about it and showed up and auditioned. And the two of them did South Pacific as Emile DeBeck and Nellie Forbush in Vietnam. Like literally would have to stop their show because, wounded would come in and everybody would have to go off and do surgeries and things. And then, 4 hours later, they'd come back and finish the show. My dad always wanted to be an opera singer, but his parents thought that was not a good choice. And so he became a doctor. My mom grew up in a very musical family, but also a very medical family, and she wanted to take after her dad, who was a doctor, so she became a nurse. But my whole life, the whole family was always singing. There was never a stop of, never a moment that there was not music in the house.
Well, that concludes this interview with Laura Gregory on the podcast 1520 a year, a restaurant, a podcast. It's actually an excerpt from a longer interview with Laura on the podcast Fair Folk at Work entitled Laura Gregory. There's also a playlist of Laura on Spotify with the title Laura Gregory Sings. So go to Google, type in playlist Laura Gregory Sings, and follow the link from there. So check all those out if you get a chance. But that's it for this time. Thanks for listening. But if anybody else out there has worked at the restaurant 1520 and would like to add to the memory and history of that very special place, get in touch with me at djng at earthlink.net. But that's it for this time. Thanks for listening. Bye bye.